Camping, parking, and going to the store. They are all related to the same shoresh, Chet Nun Yod. Shalom, and welcome back to Hebrew Vocab Boost. I'm Sapir, and summer is camping season. So today I am talking about the shoresh Chet Nun Yod, which is all about camping. Now, as with all shorashim that end with a yod, there's a yod in that final position. There are a lot of people who say that final letter is a hey instead of a yod. So do not be surprised if you see a book or a teacher or some other entity who is explaining Hebrew to you that says that this should be Chet Nun Hey. The academia calls it Chet Nun Yod, and I follow their lead. In the Tanakh, the vast majority of these words have to do with camping. The word machaneh means camp, a place where a group of people spend the night outdoors, usually in some kind of a tent or a temporary dwelling. We see this word all over the Tanakh, from the earliest books till way later. Usually, machaneh refers to the place where people are spending the night. Often in books like Leviticus, where there's all kinds of rules, they will talk about somebody or something must stay outside of the camp. So they're definitely talking about the place, the place where the main group is. But occasionally the word machaneh refers to the group of people who are in the camp. For example, in Genesis 32:9, Jacob is worried about meeting up with his brother Esau after so many years. And so he divides his group into two camps, and he thinks to himself, that way, if one camp is attacked by his brother, the other camp can escape. So it's clear in that sentence that the camp is not the place, it's the group of people. And following this concept of a camp as a group of people, it sometimes gets translated by the JPS as an army or a troop. There is a pa'al verb, lachnot, which shows up in the Tanakh either as the present tense or participle, chonim, or in the past tense or perfect aspect, chana. This gets translated mostly as someone was or people were encamped. Or it can also act as a noun, meaning people who are encamped, the camping people. A couple of times it is translated as besieged, and this verb takes a direct object, and that object is like a city or something like that. And there's this word, chanit, which means spear, like the weapon. The academia does indeed say that this is from the same shoresh, and so I just wonder, I have not seen any explanation as to how a spear is related to camping, except that I can imagine it might have expanded from the meaning of army, right? So an army, if you have an army, their weapons might have, be related. They might have a related word. I certainly haven't done any research, and I haven't seen any research that relates the word chanit to the rest of the meanings of like machaneh or lachnot. So that's it for words in the Tanakh. I mean, there are a ton of words. When I did my search in the corpus, of course, a ton of words came up, but the rest of them were not related. A lot of them had the shoresh Chet Nun Nun, and some of them just had another letter in their shoresh, and because the final letter of Chet Nun Yod is a yod or a hey, I searched it both ways. those are often just suffixes, and so of course I got a ton of words that were just completely not related. In modern times, we still have machane, which is a temporary place to go outdoors and usually spend the night. And when I went to Israel with my husband and my son went to Machane Kayitz, summer camp. And lachanot still means to camp, but it also means to park a car. It's like your car is camping out in a space for a couple of hours or overnight or however long it's there. Now, with regards to parking, I've seen this verb used two separate ways. You can say the car is parked, and you can say that like hamechonit chona. So I've seen it like mostly in the question, Eifo hamechonit chona? Where is the car parked? But it's also the person who parks. So ani chona barechov, I park on the street. Now, if the person is going to be a subject and you're going to have a vehicle as your object, it's a different verb. It's a hif'il verb, lehachanot. So a sentence using this verb would be something like ani machana et hamechonit. I park the car. Now, this shoresh has a guttural in the first position and a yod/hey in the final position. And both of these are going to cause vowel changes and or other kinds of issues. So until you are really familiar with how these letters affect the sounds around them and affect the conjugations, it is definitely recommended that you use something like Pealim.com or 201 Hebrew verbs or some kind of verb conjugation list to help you with the conjugations, because especially with the fact that it has two letters that are problem children, there's all kinds of issues whenever there's two of them in the same shoresh. So I definitely recommend using Pealim.com if you're going to be using one of these verbs. Chaniya is the verbal noun or the shem peula of the verb lachanot. So it's like it means parking, as in the act of parking. So it might be appropriate in a sentence such as he lomedet chaniya. She's learning parking, right? She's learning how to park her car. Chanaya and chanyon both mean parking, as in a place to park your car. And I've only actually seen chanaya in the wild, but chanyon also makes sense. It's kind of the same word with the on suffix. So if you're looking for a hotel in Israel and you're wondering if they have parking there, you can ask, yesh chanaya? Is there parking? Now, on the off chance that you are going to do something silly like I did and just go to Israel, rent a car, and travel the country completely on your own, let me give you a word of warning. If you are looking for a hotel or any place to stay and you ask them, yesh chanaya, if they have one parking spot, they will tell you, yes, of course, there is parking here. I don't know about the rest of the world. We Americans assume that if a hotel says they have parking, that means they have parking so that most rooms, if the hotel is full, at least most rooms will still have at least one parking space. And that is just not the case in Israel. They will say that they have parking. Literally, we stayed at a hotel that had one parking spot, and they claimed they had parking. And that one parking spot was full when we got there, and we didn't know how to park after that. Parking is very complicated in Israel. It might not be complicated for people who are used to traveling. We had not traveled outside of the States. My husband had pretty much never been outside of the States as an adult. I hadn't been outside of the States since I was in my 20s. And also, we don't live in a city, and so we were not used to paying for parking ever. So my idea of paying for parking involves a little parking meter on, at the little spot, and I put coins in, or I understand that a lot of them will take credit cards nowadays. Or that, maybe there's a machine, like a centralized machine that you pay, and you get a little ticket, you stick it in your car window. That is what I was expecting. That is not how it works in Israel. You have to download an app, and there are 2 such apps that you can download. They both require you to have an Israeli ID, the Israeli national ID number, which of course, if you're not Israeli, you don't have one. So parking, and this is the only way to pay for parking. And so it was a major undertaking. It took me like a whole week to figure out how to get my app up and running, since I didn't have this Israeli ID. And even then, when I got somewhere and I opened the app, sometimes it didn't seem to work right. I didn't know what I was doing. The whole thing was in Hebrew. Yeah, I speak Hebrew, but there were a lot of big words in there, and it was a lot of confusion, and I couldn't understand why I'm looking at the sign, and the sign says, yeah, you have to pay for parking from this hour to this hour, but my app doesn't want to, give me the option to pay for parking. So I was very, very concerned all the time that I was not paying for parking correctly, and that I was going to get some kind of a ticket or get towed, or who knows. But luckily, nothing bad ever actually happened. But if you do something like that, it might be better to just park in a parking building, a parking structure, with an attendant who can take your money. And last on the list of parking is chanevasa, which literally means like park and ride, and it is a park and ride. It's a big parking lot where you park, and then you can take like either public transportation or somehow get into the city. At Tel Aviv, their traffic situation is a total disaster, and they are constantly trying to find ways to keep personal vehicles out of the city. So apparently, I guess they have park and rides. And so if you think of a camp, a machaneh, as an outdoor temporary stop when you're on a journey, then tachana also makes sense. It means a stop or a station. We often see this word as the first element of a smichut construction. So we'll see something like tachanat rakevet, which would be a train station, tachanat autobus, which means a bus stop, or tachanat delek, which can be a gas station or a truck stop. Delek means fuel, so it really goes either way. Whatever kind of fuel you're getting, that's your stop. And then we also have the word chanut, which means a store, somewhere that you go to buy stuff. And so this kind of makes sense. It's a place, you're on a journey, you stop, of course the owner is hoping that you'll buy something. And so chanut. As for the word chanit, meaning spear, it still exists in modern Hebrew, and it has a couple of offshoots. Chanitan means Tylosaurus, which, according to Wikipedia, this is a genus of needlefish. So their face looks kind of like a spear. So that makes sense. And Chanitit means Sudagrion, which, according to Wikipedia, is a genus of damselfly. So I looked at pictures. I didn't see any spear-like structures anywhere on their bodies, so I'm not quite sure how they got this a word from this shoresh, but chanitit. All right, so that's it for today. Now you know all about all of the words with the shoresh Chet Nun Yod, or as others say, Chet Nun Hey. As always, if you have any questions or feedback, please leave it in the comments and I will do my best to get back to you. Hit like if you enjoyed this video and subscribe and hit the notification bell if you want to see more. Lehitraot bapa'am haba'a. See you next time.